Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this rainy morning, whether you're in Iowa or somewhere else. I saw some of my pals from somewhere else. Hey, Julia. I saw some of my pals from other places, but this is Check It Out for March 2021. I'm Angie Manfredi from the State Library of Iowa. This is our monthly collection development webinar where we look at the best new books published for ages 0 to 18. This is my welcome slide, as always. This is my contact information. I'm having some issues with my phone, but I'm working on it. So if you get through and you can't leave me a message, send me an email. But I'm working on it. And please do not hesitate to get in touch. Send me an email, try to call me, I'm very reachable. So this is usually the part in the presentation where I share a cute picture of myself, or my last time I shared a picture of my parents who are fully vaccinated. But this is a year since I started working from home. So today we have a special portion of this. And today I want you to meet my husband, William Tucker. He's going to come in and say hello to you.
Hi, all.
So this is William. He's my coworker. We worked together for the past year. So I thought that this would be a fun thing. Say hi to Iowa, honey.
Hello, Iowa. It's good to meet you. Haven't seen you in a while.
So William and I have lived and worked together now. We are the only people we've seen in a year, besides the people who gave us our flu shots. And he's a great coworker most of the time when he's not chewing. And say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody again.
What do you like best about the picture books? We read picture books together. Some of you know.
The engineering and pilot ones.
Yeah.
Yes, I love those.
Yeah, he likes the ones that are about engineering. William is a physicist and a mathematician. And so he likes the picture books best that are about science and technology. And you're going to hear about one today that was one of his favorites. Last month we liked the one about Hazel Yingley. So
absolutely.
So say hello.
Hi. Say
goodnight, Gracie.
All right.
So that I thought you would all enjoy saying hello to William. For the thousands, since you've heard about him a million times and you've seen pictures of him, and there we are. So that's our picture today. But as you know, we don't have time for talking because this is an hour and I'm going to talk about 40 books in an hour. So we got to go. But I wanted, before we take that, I did want to take a minute to reflect on the fact that it's been a year since the coronavirus changed all of our worlds and our lives and our library lives. So I want to take a moment always. I want to acknowledge how far we've come. I want to acknowledge the things we've lost and gained. And I want to say to all of you who are here watching, you made it. And it was hard and it was brutal sometimes. And it was like things we had never imagined before. But a year in, I did want to take a moment to reflect on how far that we've come. That's part of the reason I had William. Like I wouldn't have imagined a year ago that we would be in this position. But I did want to take a minute to say, we made it this far. It's the 24th mile of the marathon. And I want to encourage you to keep going to the 25th and 26th so we can cross the finish line. And I wanted to say thank you to all of you. You have not heard that, I can guarantee you, enough this year. And I want to say thank you to all of you for this and for everything you did over the past year. So with that in mind, this is our what we're up to today, and we have so much to do. We'll be looking at the best new books for ages 0 to 18 published within the last month of March 2021. These are in no way all of the books that are published. I couldn't even begin to do that. So instead, what these are looking at are some highlights and some favorites. And what I'm hoping are they might be some books that you might not have heard of before. They might be not what is an every time New York Times bestseller. So we're not looking at just big six and bestsellers. I'm looking at things that might be a little bit off the beaten path. Along the way, I'll be telling you about trends that we see reflected in publishing, what they can tell us for what patrons. I'll give you some book talking ideas for fans of, and at the end, I'll give you a couple ideas on how you can learn more. Please, as always, feel free to sound off in the chat. If you have one of these books at your library, if you're excited about one of them, if it sounds so good, if you can't wait to read it, we really want to try to build a community and a conversation around these books. And one of the ways we do that is by hearing from you in chat. So before we go into it, we're starting this. A reminder, your collection matters. Your collection reflects What brings people in the doors? Your collection is important. It's a key element of your library, along with all that other stuff, along with all the take and makes, along with all of that. Your collection matters. It matters to have current, relevant, interesting, engaging books in it that tell the story of your community and tell the story of the world. So your collection matters. We believe that, and we're glad that you're here because you believe that as well. You will get a copy of this slide deck at the end. So Joe, if you're writing all this down, you'll get a copy of the slide deck when this is over. And I've added to the end of the slide deck a complete list of all the titles. So the last 2 slides are a complete list of all the titles that are featured. Let's get ready to rumble. Are you ready? Let's do it. This month we're starting with readers and chapter books. So Fox at Night by Corey R. Tabor. If you are not familiar with the Fox books, they are, in my opinion, they're genius. They're from the I Can Read line, and they're my first, the lowest level. This is the 4th book with Fox, Fox the Tiger, contemporary classic, Fox is Late, and Fox versus Winter. Fox is afraid of the night and is sure there are monsters, but the creatures of the night assure Fox there are not. So this level of reading, it's very simple, repeated sight words per page. The night is full of monsters, says Fox. Fox looks for monsters. I am not a monster. I am a raccoon, says Raccoon. Sorry, says Fox, but the night is full of monsters. I don't think so, says Raccoon. Come, we'll show you. You can see they've previously met Bat, and it goes very similar. I am not a monster. I am a bat, says Bat. Sorry, says Fox, but the night is full of monsters. Fox is an amazing, lovable character. This is a great I Can Read at this level. This whole series, Fox the Tiger is really, it's adorable. My nephew wanted to hear it like 800 times. He wanted me to read it to him like 800 times. So we're always glad to see another entry from Fox. And this is a great level of that very first basic reader. This is Too Small Tola by Atunike. Some of you might know her as the author of the greatest picture book series, the greatest chapter book series ever, Anna Hibiscus. But she also writes amazing picture books. B is for Baby. And this is her new series about Tola, who is very small. She lives in Nigeria with her big brother and her big sister and her very grumpy grandma. These are 3 short stories. They're set in contemporary day Nigeria. They're super funny. Tola is small, but she is mighty. And they're illustrated throughout with this kind of spot illustrations. She does lots of things like figure out the electricity in her building goes on the fritz, but Tola is small and mighty. Tola lives in a rundown block of apartments in the mega city of Lagos in the country of Nigeria. Sometimes the electricity works and sometimes it does not. Sometimes the water runs and sometimes it does not. Once the elevator worked, and now it definitely does not. So these are 3 short stories about her and her family and everybody in their neighborhood in Lagos. It's super vibrant, great. It's an amazing at that reader level. Atuneke is a master of that level. So Tola is small, but she is big in heart. And this book is big in character. I hope that just like with Anna Hibiscus, we'll be treated to like 1 million of these. I read it in one sitting and I had to stop reading it out loud. I had to stop and read it out loud. It has a lot of great fun stuff. Like she helps the tailor and she helps her grandma. And it really gives you that slice of life. I love it so much. Okay, this is another trend here. So this is Dino Detective and Awesome Possum Private Eyes. It's about a dinosaur and a possum who are best friends, who are brother and sister, and they are solving the mystery of who stole Grandma Thunderclap's pizza. This is the first in a series. This one is from Penguin, but it matches what we see a lot of publishers doing with this highly illustrated, full color kind of chapter book series. Right. And Kitty and the Great Lantern Race is similar. It's about a girl who has cat powers at night and she solves mysteries. Kitty and the Great Lantern Race is number 5 in the series. They're both highly illustrated chapter book series. Kind of what sets Dino Detective and Awesome Possum apart is that they're full color, and in Kitty they're black and white. But this kind of highly illustrated chapter book, Dino and Possum watched as she quickly ducked under the table, then carefully rummaged through boxes. Spotting the papers on the table, she grabbed a pile and stuffed them into her bag. So we really see a lot of this kind of as we're bridging our transitional readers over to this new series, highly illustrated throughout. Suspect Dad, Suspect Grandma Thunderclap, Suspect Possum, and Kitty and the Great Lantern Race is basically she solves little mysteries around her neighborhood using her cat powers. They're both, I'm sure we'll see more of Dino Detective and Awesome Possum, and this is the 5th Kitty book. And these are really good transitional readers for kids who are easing into chapter books. Our graphic novels this month, 2 of our graphic novels. This is the new series from James Burks, who writes Bird and Squirrel, one of my personal favorites. It's about a cat who's a secret agent. I mean, need I tell you more? Of course, King Crab is Cat's enemy, and only Agent 9, feline, get it? 9 lives is, you're all getting it? Okay. Only Agent 9 can stop King Crab's evil plan. It's super cute. It's a real basic graphic novel. Bird and Squirrel is a genius, of course. And this is Blueberry and Pancakes. They're all best friends. Get it? Their names are Blueberry and Pancakes by Dan and Jason. And this again, this matches another thing we really see coming up right now, our beginning graphic novels. Now we're zigzagging. Where's my beach ball? The beach ball is a big reoccurring theme in this one. You can see also these are also really influenced by Mo Willems, Elephant and Piggy. So that kind of marriage of graphic novel and Elephant and Piggy. You can see in this one, there's amazing use of the language bubbles to indicate the alien speech. And it's just a lot of fun. They have a lot of goofy adventures together. Not a lot of text per page. So this is really what we kind of see as our transitional graphic novel, as we kind of are moving from graphic novels to longer, all because I was worried about losing this silly beach ball. They go on an adventure with the aliens. So I hope we'll see more of Blueberry and Pancakes, and this kind of graphic novel hybrid as we move from reader, perfect format for it. Okay, huge change of pace. Now, so this is Finding Home, The Journey of Immigrants and Refugees by Jen Sookfong Lee, illustrated by Drew Shannon. This is a longer, there's a lot of great nonfiction this month. This is a longer in-depth book. It's highly illustrated with photographs throughout. And it's from Orca. It's from a line, Orca book. Orca has a line called Think. These are amazing nonfiction titles. So this is centered in Canada. It has a lot about migrating to Canada, but it's also about human migration in general. And it really looks at the history of migration and why people choose to migrate or are forced to migrate. And one of the things I really love about it is that it tells us it has these profiles of actual immigrants. Okay, so it actually profiles people who've immigrated and why they have immigrated. They immigrate to Canada, they immigrate all across the country, all across the world. But it also says, like, it has these migration facts. More than 500,000 refugees in Africa are in need of permanent home, but there are only 18,000 resettlement places. And so, like, this is a person who Ayla Tazabari, she immigrated from Israel to Canada to back again. So it has that along with the history of what are some of the histories of immigration. So I love this kind of level of nonfiction. I love this line from Orca. They're big topics that they ask this level of reader to find out more about, and also to kind of put into a contemporary context in their world. So the line is called Think. It's Stay Curious. They already have 2. One is Shelter, Homelessness in Our Community, and the other is What Animals Want, the 5 Freedoms in Action, which is about humane treatment of animals. And I think what really makes this stand out is the portraits of immigrants and refugees throughout the book. So I really love this. It was longer than I thought, and I really liked it, and I was surprised. But talk about a book that surprised me. So this is The Age of Dinosaurs by Stephen Brusatte. He's kind of one of those celebrity paleontologists. And this is definitely a chapter book. It's for longer readers, but I loved this. It's written in a very accessible style. It starts with like where dinosaurs came from, like stuff I never even thought about. And he writes it in just, it's really incredibly readable. He's in a bunch of those documentaries now. He wrote a New York Times bestseller for adults about dinosaurs. I think they're so incredibly interesting. I absolutely, this is not my jam at all. This is not the kind of thing I was into, but I kept stopping and reading this out loud to William, and I'd be like, did you know that? And he'd be like, yes. Yeah, okay. But I love it. I love the way it was written. And I think this is great for the kids who want more than just pictures of dinosaurs. They're really into dinosaurs. They've moved past your 10 books that you've seen 800 times. And I think there's so much good stuff in this one. And I hope he writes a lot more. And I was skeptical about this one over, and it totally won me over. It totally won me over. Okay. Those of you that some of you know that my favorite thing is true crime. I'm really into true crime. This is Escape at 10,000 Feet. It's the first in a series called The Unsolved Files. I'm wondering if some of you know who this is just from the cover. It's very revealing if you're into true crime and unsolved mysteries like I am. Of course, this is about anyone? One of the greatest unsolveds in American history. It is about D.B. Cooper, who hijacked a plane and jumped out of it with the money and was never seen again. Everybody has their own theory about what happened to Cooper. I think he died in the woods, but it's this whole thing. This series is unbelievable. It's a marriage of nonfiction and graphic novel in a way I think that is going to hook kids. I want to show you a couple pages from it. It's nonfiction, but it has these graphic elements that are also primary source documents that look at elements of the mystery. This is the first in the series. There's going to be others. I think this is just such an exciting way that we see nonfiction evolving. I love it. It was at this time that Cooper put it on. He opened up one of the front parachutes, which is meant to be an emergency backup chute, but cut the nylon cords and pocket knife because the money had been delivered in the bank bag. There was no handle, so Cooper had to fashion one. The details in it, the way it integrates the graphics with the mystery. This is a book that I wish had been around when I was a kid. I wasn't even really into, I didn't even know I was into this. I loved mysteries, but I didn't know that this was even a thing. I loved reading this. It got me inspired about Cooper all over again. Seriously, he died, you guys. He died in the woods. There is no way he survived to jump at that level with his skill. He's dead. Okay. Email me later if you want to talk about D.B. Cooper. But this is Escape at 10,000 Feet by Tom Sullivan. It's the first in the Unsolved Case Files. I think this is going to be a big series. There's another one coming in the summer. I'm excited already about it. Okay, another tied in perfectly. Another thing we see tons of, a big trend right now. This is City of Spies, Golden Gate by James Ponti and Winterborn Home for Mayhem and Mystery by Alec Carter. These are both spy thrillers. Kids this age love this spy, twisty heist genre. City of Spies is about a group of international kids who solve mysteries in cities across the world. And Winterborn Home for Mayhem and Mystery is about a group of orphans who work for a mysterious billionaire and solve mysteries. These are both the second entries in the series. So City of Spies and Winterborn Home, these are both number 2s. But for those kids who love mysteries, who love heists, who love twists, who love that international kind of adventure, cliffhanger endings after every chapter, these are 2 series. They're early in the run by 2 masters, James Ponti and Alec Carter. Probably 2 of the best contemporary thriller writers. Some of you know that maybe Alec Carter's Gallagher Girls series, maybe the greatest YA spy thriller series ever, right? I tell you I love you, but then I'd have to kill you. And this is her middle grade debut. These are both a lot of fun. City of Spies is their home base is in Scotland, but the first one is set in Paris. They travel all over. There's a mysterious billionaire, Winterborn. I mean, what's not to love, right? So again, these are each number 2s. This number 2s, and I think we'll see more of them. And James Ponti, if you're not familiar with him, he writes some of the best kids mysteries I think out there. He's really great at the pacing, and he's another one that these are books that I know that when I was a kid I would have eaten up. This was exactly my jam. Obviously, from the D.B. Cooper stuff, I'm a huge fan of mysteries. So this is stuff I would have been really into as a kid. And I'm still really into now, Simon B. Rhymin by Dwayne Reed. Okay, some of you might know Mr. Reed. He went viral with a song, a video called Welcome to the 4th Grade. Welcome to the 4th grade. So happy to meet you. He's a teacher in Chicago. He went mega viral with Welcome to the 4th Grade, the greatest welcome to school story ever told. And this is his fiction debut about a 5th grader named Simon who loves to rap and rhyme everywhere he goes. It's just really cute. Reading this book made me feel really good. It's got a lot of really great tight rhymes in it, so it's fun to read out loud. And it's basically how Simon gains his confidence and gains his voice and gets to say his verse during school with a teacher who is the coolest teacher ever and loves rap. This is just a lot of fun. If you haven't heard Welcome to the 4th grade, you need to go listen to it right now. William and I sing it around the house to each other all the time. Welcome to the 4th grade. So happy to meet you. Please never repeat this again. Dwayne Reed, he still teaches. So this was written by a teacher. It has a lot of kid appeal. And you can tell it was written by somebody who knows kids really well and knows how kids talk and knows what kids are into and has a real love for children. So this was just a lot of fun to read. This made me really happy. This was a book that when I was reading it, I felt like joy. Do you guys remember what joy felt like? That's what I felt like reading Simon B. Rhymin. The Mysteries of the Finkle Family, The Many Mysteries of the Finkle Family by Sarah Kapit. The first thing I want to say, this book is about 2 sisters who start their own detective agency, Laura and Caroline. And Laura doesn't want Caroline to be part of it because sisters, you never want them to be part of your mystery solving agency. I think we can all agree. But of course, they end up working together and solving mysteries of their own family, which is not what they had in mind at the beginning. But one of the things I want to give a special shout out about this book too is this is an own voices book about 2 autistic sisters written by an autistic author. So many titles about autism are written by people who are not autistic, who might have autistic children or autistic family members, but they themselves are not autistic. And so we really want to see more disabled voices telling disabled stories. And this is Sarah Kapit's 2nd book. And it's amazing to see 2 sisters who are autistic as the main characters written by an autistic author. And I thought it really added to the story and to their relationship. So I wanted to give a special shout out to it about that, because when we see titles, especially about disabled characters written by disabled authors, that's always a thing we kind of want to make note of. And I really thought it added to this story, which is adorable and great. This Amina song by Hannah Khan, I included it because some of you know that Amina's Voice was our All Iowa Reads inaugural children's title. And this is the companion story that follows Amina as she comes back from a family visit to Pakistan. So for your kids that loved this first book as part of All Iowa Reads, there is in fact a companion. And I really loved this. I love the way it also focused on Amina lifting up her voice and sharing with her friends her own story. It's always great to revisit a character that you loved, and we were big fans of Amina's Voice. Obviously, it was our first ever All Iowa Reads children's choice, and so it's exciting to see there's a companion. Okay, so I'm biased against this book. I have to tell you, I wrote this is Starfish by Lisa Fipps, and I indeed wrote the reader's guide for this for Penguin. So I obviously, I loved it. And it is a novel in verse about a fat middle schooler. And I want to read you one of the poems. There's a fat girl rule I'm going to have to rethink. When eating out, never finish first. That's a rule because usually people expect you to wolf down food as if you're out of control. But I eat my ice cream so slowly, I end up sipping custard soup. It's in verse, so it's a fast read. It's about a character learning to disregard the fat girl rule she's been taught. There's really not a lot about body image for this age. I would know, I'm kind of an expert about it. There's really not a lot about body image for this age, and I think this one's really outstanding. Lisa Fipps is a librarian. She works in libraries, and it's a fast read. It's a gut punch, but I also, there's not really anything else like this on the market. I loved it, and not just because I wrote the reader's guide. I thought it was very true, and it's also really great for kids about how we learn to take up space in the world and how that's okay. And I think that's a really important and great message. And every month I pick a favorite. And so my favorite this month, as you know, I love reading books about things I don't know stuff about. So my favorite this month is an import from New Zealand. It's called Dawn Raid, and it's by Pauline Vaeluaga Smith. It's written in verse. It's written in diary format, and it takes place in the 1970s in New Zealand during a period when the government was conducting what they called dawn raids on overstayers. But what this really ended up being was a period where the government really cracked down in illegal ways on Pacific Islander occupants. And what's great about it is that a group of young people created an organization they called the Polynesian Panthers, inspired by the Black Panthers, to resist and to engage in activism. I didn't know anything about this. And reading this book, which is written in diary style, so very similar to like Dear America, of this character whose family gets involved with this, I loved it. I loved her voice. I loved her family. I loved her siblings. And I loved that feeling of young people coming together to stand up against something that isn't right. And it was written in a really engaging style. It was about a period of history I didn't know anything about. And I loved it. It felt so fresh and it felt so immediate, and it felt like it was a call to action. And I loved every page of it. I wanted to learn more about the dawn raids. I wanted to learn more about the Polynesian Panthers. I wanted to learn more about New Zealand. Everything about it. It was just great. And it was readable. It was immediate. This is exactly the kind of thing I'm looking for in this age category. I love historical fiction that's not all about the 1940s, although there's nothing wrong with that. I feel like kids who love historical fiction want to learn more about different periods. Kids who love stories that are written like diaries. I've got to stop because I could spend the rest of the hour talking about this book, but I really, really loved it. So this was my favorite this month. Dawn Raid. You also, if you look up this author and this book, she's done a ton of videos. She did a museum exhibit about it, and she did the museum exhibit so cool. She set it up like it was the living room of the activists. Oh, it's exactly my jam. So there's so much more information out there about this. This is a book I'm going to be thinking about for a long time. Really loved it. Can't recommend it enough. Okay, picture books and board books. Mommy and Daddy, from the queen of board books, Leslie Patricelli. This is my daddy. Daddy is so big and strong. Daddy's legs are so long. On the shoulders, touch the sky. Daddy's face is scratchy, hairy. Daddy's monster is so scary. I mean, obviously, I'm assuming you all have every book published by Leslie Patricelli and this weird one-toothed baby. These are the newest entries in them. I think they're pretty close to the what we exemplify in form in Daddy and Mommy. And I also want to give a shout out to Daddy and Mommy is that Daddy cooks and Daddy cleans. Gosh darn right, he better. So this is Daddy and Mommy. They go with all of her other books. I've done No, Yes, Yes, and Storytime so many times. I think I have it memorized. The kids laugh every time. Another board book favorite. Oh my gosh. The Night is Deep and Wide by Gillian C., illustrated by Sue Todd. This is a Villanelle. It's a form of poetry. The tulips close row by row as shadows grow against the light. Moonlight falls on eyes that close. Lightning bugs flit and glow. Moths flutter in and out of sight. The tulips close row by row. Where do the cats and songbirds go? They've curled against their mother's side. I'm already asleep. I don't know about you. I'm already feeling drowsy. This is a perfect combination of form and illustration in the board book format. Moonlight falls on eyes that close, a hush as settled, and it knows sleep is here. Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing, doesn't it? This is like the use of poetry, the combination. You really couldn't beat this as a board book. Moonlight falls on eyes that close. It just really sticks with you. Plus the black and white illustrations with splashes of color. Love it. Love everything about it. Rissy No Kissies by Katey Howes, illustrated by Jessie Engle. This is about a lovebird who does not want to be kissed. But what it's really about is this is one of the best books I've seen about consent for this age, without ever being about consent. And at the end, some birds share their love with kissies, but they're not my favorite things. I like singing song together, sitting close and holding wings. I see love and cards and cookies, flying flips and sky-high hugs. With no kissies to upset me, I feel safe and warm and snug. From then on, when Rissy played with friends or when she bumped her head, when her heart was feeling oh so full or when she went to bed, she gave feather fives and nuzzles. She shared and snuggled cheek to cheek. I'm a lovebird, Rissy chirped with a most emphatic squeak. And this whole part in the back, there's a note about consent. There's a note to kids. We all like different things. We can be kind and respectful by asking before we touch. We can use our voices to say no to things we don't like. We can all feel safe and special by listening and respecting choices. And one of the things I love about this is Rissy says a couple times, I'm a lovebird, but I don't like kisses. So am I really a lovebird? And one of the things I love about the book is that it affirms that it's okay to want and feel affection in different ways. I think there is so much conversation to happen here about kids who like and engage and touch in different ways and how it's okay to voice that. But I also think it's not at all lectury. It doesn't feel too heavy. And this is a conversation that parents and caregivers often want to have with kids and don't know how to start. And I think this book is a great way to pick it up. We really like this. I really like this one. It really stood out to me. So this is Rissy, No Kissies. In My Mosque by M.O. Yusuk, illustrated by Hatim Ali. This is a fantastic title, Introduction to Going to the Mosque. For those of you that are not familiar with Hatim Ali, he's one of my favorite contemporary illustrators. He really is out of sight with this book. I want to show you. I'll show you just a couple pages. The really depth and color and illustration here. I think it's just really beautiful and playful. In My Mosque, the Imam tells us stories of living in harmony together as one. I understand we are all connected and come from the same creator. It's very simple, very direct, very straightforward, takes a kid through what a visit to a mosque is like. This is one of my favorite illustrations, I think, in children's books this year. I love the look in her eyes. I love the color in it. I love the variety of faces we see here. And I think that really exemplifies this book. It's a real depth of feeling and it really is immersive. It really stood out to me. And also it made me feel good. And it was kind of another one that didn't do a lot of like, and then this, and then this, and then this. It really still focused on story. And I was really drawn to it. I hope we'll see a lot more from the author. And it really is, to me, this is Hatim Ali. I think this is really a showcase moment for him. His illustrations are always great, but they really stand out here. So one of my favorites. Okay, so this is a hard book about a hard thing. This is The Big Bad Wolf in My House by Valerie Fontaine. It's illustrated by Nathalie Dion, and it was translated from the French by Shelley Tanaka. And this is a story about child abuse and about spousal abuse. The main character in it sees the abuser in her house as the Big Bad Wolf, and he comes into the house and hurts her and hurts her mother, and puts bruises on her hand. When he left finger marks on my arm, I had to cover them up with long sleeves, even when it was hot out. My bedroom door should have stopped him, but he came in without knocking. He paid no attention to a barrier made of wood. At the end, the mom and the child flee to another house. At the other house, a nice woman welcomed us in. She put her arms around my mother. She showed us our room. The kitchen was full of people chatting, mothers, children, but no wolves. That night, I finally had a good sleep, even though my mother was crying in her bed. The big bad wolf can huff and puff all he wants, but this house will not fall down. So again, this is a serious book about a serious topic, but it's still approached in a child-friendly and child-accessible way. Again, some of you have heard, there's huge differences between what's published in America and what's published in other countries. I think this is a book that exemplifies that. This was hard to read, but I think it's important. And it's another one that I think can be really important to kids for a variety of reasons. So this is the Ramble, Shamble Children by Christina Soontornvat. And this is a cute picture book that really reminded me of the Boxcar Children. And it's about 5 children who live on their own in a Ramble Shamble house. There are no adults in this book. They fix up their house and then decide they like it better, Ramble Shamble. There are no adults in it. It's really all just them. I love that kind of independent child thing. I think that some people are going to be weirded out by that, but kids often view the world that way. And to me, this really had a kid's sense of mind. And of course, the illustrations by Lauren Castillo really take it home. And as does the end, that they realize that they want their house to be Ramble Shamble Shamble the way it is, and they think that's absolutely perfect. So again, I think there's some adults that are going to be like, what's the deal with this book? But to me, it was really kid focused, and it really captured that sense of child's wonder and play. Trains by Daisy Hurst. This book it's a little larger, and it literally is, I like playing with my train. See how large the font is there compared to my fingers? See how large the font is? I like playing with my train. I like putting the animals on board so they can go off on a journey. Sometimes I drive a train of my own. Look, man, I like trains. I don't know how I can be any more clear about it. I like trains. I like them. I like trains. I like playing with trains. Very simple, very basic. The format of this, you can see it's a little bit bigger. Really, really cool. Which goes next to another picture book that's the opposite. Now, The Electric Slide and Kai by Kelly J. Batiste, illustrated by Darnell Johnson. So this is a longer picture book. That I Like Trains is the very basic. This one's a little bit longer. And it is about Kai, who desperately wants to be good at dancing because everybody in his family is good at dancing, but he always messes up. And so when they go to this family wedding, he gets really nervous that he's going to mess up, and he decides he'll run away before he tries his dance. And one of the things I really liked about this book is the character who talks him into coming back is his uncle. And you don't really see that relationship a lot in picture books. And I really loved that. And that his uncle tells him, like, I'm just joining the family too. And it's okay to be nervous. And it's okay to feel like maybe I'm not the best dancer, but I'm going to try. So let's go get it. And he goes, and it's okay. His dance doesn't look like anybody else's, but it is pretty cool. And not only that, he gets to do it with his new uncle. And I really love that acceptance. And I loved, you can see he's kind of like, I'm nervous, I don't want to do it. But I realized that it doesn't matter. Look how great that is. It doesn't matter. So I spin like DJ, dip like Mila, and wiggle my shoulders just like me. There's no tripping, no falling, and no missing a beat. And there's me and my uncle. Love it. I'm guessing that some of you have uncles, or your children have uncles they're really close to. This one's, it's a little bit longer, but it was so adorable. And the dancing and being able to own your own moves, so great. The Old Boat. If those of you that do not already have The Old Truck by Jared and Jerome Pumphrey, you need to go out and get it immediately. It was one of my favorite picture books of last year. And this is the companion, The Old Boat. Off on a small island, an old boat rode the tide. I want you to pay attention. Watch this illustration. Watch how little changes and how much it changes anyway. Watch just the fishing pole. Yeah, look at that. Yeah. The old boat caught wants and wishes. So this is a brother, two brothers. They create, this is their second collaboration. Obviously the Old Boat, the Old Truck was first. They're fantastic. I want them to write 8,000 books. It really has this strong graphic design element. There's so much to dig into it. And it's the kind of things that kids are so into, that really follow their kind of, dream kind of thing they love touching. I put the two tree books together. This is Z Grows a Tree by Elizabeth Rush and The Tree and Me by Corinna Lunkin. The first thing is Z Grows a Tree is about a girl. It's heavily nonfiction. And I love it because it's like the opposite of The Giving Tree, the worst book ever written. So Z Grows a Tree is about a girl and a tree and how they grow up together and how she learns to care for this tree at her parents' Christmas tree farm. And it also follows really how trees develop. So it's like when she was getting ready to go to nursery school, the tree was getting ready to leave the nursery. So I love that. And I love the story of like growing up together with a tree and also that mix of nonfiction and fiction. And then The Tree and Me by Corinna Lunkin. Some of you might be familiar with her. She's an illustrator. She writes these really great, amazing books. And this is about finding strength within yourself using the metaphor of a tree. The Tree in Me. The tree in me is strong, it bends. You can see her style of illustration and also the color, the way she uses color. And again, that story of growth and resilience and roots. I think in both of these, I think there's something really strong and resonant in that for kids. This is the book that William was telling you that was his favorite. Classified, The Secret Career of Mary Golda Ross, Cherokee Aerospace Engineer by Tracy Sorrell, illustrated by Natasha Donovan. This was William's favorite. He gave it a 10 out of 10. And this is the true story of the only woman, the first Lockheed Martin's first woman engineer, who was also a Cherokee woman. And I loved everything about this. But what I really loved about it was how Tracy Sorrell talked about how Cherokee values informed Mary Golda Ross's work, and how she modeled the Cherokee value of working together in mind and heart. She shared her knowledge and asked questions to improve her designs. Her male colleagues respected her intellect, her drive to solve problems, and how she worked on the team. None of them realized what would come next. This was the part William liked. It was when they began working on the space program. And she, in fact, did work on the space program. And she always used to say that she loved that a girl from Oklahoma helped put a man on the moon. It follows her career. And at the end, it really says at the 4 Cherokee values and how the 4 Cherokee values informed her work. And this great bibliography, but it's also just a great picture book biography of a woman who, that didn't matter to Mary. Her life reflected another Cherokee value, humility. Mary never bragged or drew attention to her skills. Her work, including helping putting man on the moon, spoke for itself. Whenever Mary received awards, she thanked her colleagues because she knew no one person deserves credit for what they had all done together. I love this book. I loved it too. It was almost my favorite of the month. William wanted it to be my favorite. It's a great picture book bio about a person who deserves to be more widely known. I think it has so many STEM connections. Okay, Cars, Signs, and Porcupines, the Happy County books. If you do not have the Happy County books, you have to rush out right now and get them all. They are basically Richard Scarry. There's games on every page. There's Polly Porcupines, Match the Signs. Okay, count the porcupines in the picture. William and I actually played this book when we read it out loud. The county Mounties are having a hard time catching those playful porcupines. It's a good thing you're here to point them out. How many do you see? Can you read the signs along with the county Mounties and porcupines? What else do you notice? Do you see a star on the car? How about a duck in the truck? Can you spot a pan on the van? Love this. This is the 3rd Happy County book. There's also Sun and Moon Together and Hello World. Happy County is obviously clearly inspired by Richard Scarry. Along with the games, we have these cartoon panels, how to fix a car, introducing Sly, the car guy, who will now teach you a lesson in auto repair. Love it. Love it. Bigger format, big books. These are never going to be on the shelves ever. And my favorite picture book of the month, Watercress by Andrea Wang. Illustrated by Jason Chen. This certainly, in my opinion, is the front runner for the Caldecott this year. It's about a girl whose parents make them stop. That's set in Ohio, so it's got that Midwest setting. Her parents, their Chinese immigrant parents, make her and her brother stop at the side of the road and get out to cut watercress, and they are very angry about it. They don't want to have to do that. And then their parents tell them the story about a period when they were facing starvation in China and what watercress meant to them. The illustrations in this are amazing. The family dynamics in there are amazing. And so is that idea. The Midwest setting to me is very vivid in it. And that was one of the reasons I was really drawn to it. And so is that moment when you were so embarrassed by your parents, and yet then they let you into this moment where it really accesses a different world. I want to look at this illustration in particular. I want you to look at the detail on her face and how you can tell so much about how she feels by the look on her face. They haul us out of the back seat. We are told to untie our sneakers, pull off our socks, and roll up our jeans. We have to help them gather it. And how does she look at it? How does she look at it? She looks so angry about it, right? The water in the ditch is cold. It stings my ankles and the mud squelches up between my toes. I think this is outstanding in every form. There's so many conversations it opens up. I loved everything about this. It certainly was an outstanding title to me. I also think there's so many access points for conversation about this, and the illustrations really are, this is a book to watch for the rest of the year. So much about it, about the stories we tell. I think that's so key. So we're running into it. Let's do it. Young adult. Okay. There's a lot of stuff about Harry Potter, but the thing I hate the most is that now all books have to be 7,000 pages. This is a series by Ashley Woodfolk, which is something we call high lows. They have high appeal, and the writing is to appeal to low-level readers who are struggling, emerging readers. And every one of these books is 144 pages. So the kids who are intimidated by super long books are not going to be put off by these. The new one is called A Noelle, the Mean Girl. There's going to be 4 altogether. It's about a group of friends and how they come together. They're into music. They work in their family's restaurants. They're contemporary. They have short readable sentences and prose, hence the high-low designation. There is not enough high-low being published right now, so it's exciting to see this. I love the city setting of it. Noelle in this one, she has a crush on one of her girlfriends, so she's figuring out her sexuality in this. I love that. I cannot stress to you when you see them and they're 144 pages, how great it feels to see a book that short. Not all readers want 700-page books, nor can they read them all. So I love this series, and I hope that we'll see more of this kind of high-low, really written by really amazing, talented authors. So the new one is Noelle. The next one's coming out in the summer, and then the series will be complete. This is all of them together. This is When We Were Infinite by Kelly Lloyd Gilbert. Kelly Lloyd Gilbert is one of my opinions. She's one of the most underrated YA writers right now. This is a really intense book about serious topics, including child abuse and suicide. It's about Beth and her friend group. The thing I really loved about this, besides the fact that Kelly Lloyd Gilbert, her prose is beyond compare, she also really looks at friend dynamics in this, and there's romance in it, but it really is about how a group of friends works and grows and heals together. And I think that's really important. And I know so many teen readers are really drawn to that dynamic, that friendship dynamic, and it really comes across here. And it's a really strong, moving book. If you have kids who liked 13 Reasons Why, or it's kind of a funny story, or any books like that, this is a real read-alike high appeal for them. And also, Beth herself is just a really strong character. You really feel for her throughout the course of the book. And Kelly Lloyd Gilbert, this is her 3rd book, maybe 4th, I think. And she's one of those authors that you're like, man, everybody should be reading her. And her style and her prose so strong. This is Your Heart, My Sky by the Queen, Margarita Engle, big fan of Elizabeth Acevedo. For fans of Elizabeth Acevedo, this is a novel in verse. It is set, I'm sorry to have to tell you this, it is historical fiction set in the 1990s. Which is in fact historical fiction. It is set in Cuba during the period when the USSR collapsed and Cuba was going through a period of starvation. And so it's about 2 teenagers who break free from the required government service and fall in love in a time of great hunger, literally hunger, and also hunger for connection. The prose in it is stunning. The connection, it's poetry. The poetry in it is stunning. The use of hunger for a metaphor for food, but also how we struggle to connect with each other. Out of sight. It's, in my opinion, it's a one sitting read, as well as looking at, again, a lesser known historical period, a period that a lot of kids might not know anything about, that era in Cuba, and how it shaped the next generation of kids. It's just really beautiful. So a big thing right now is books in sets of 2. I love this. So this is A Queen of Gilded Horns by Amanda Joy. It's the end of this series because it's a duology. The first one is A River of Royal Blood. It is a fantasy about 2 sisters who have to kill each other because only one can become queen. I loved that. I love the setting of the 2, but of course, then in the first one, we discovered there's more to the story than that. And in fact, they've been lied to. So at the end of the first book, I don't want to spoil too much for you. At the end of the first book, they enter into this binding ceremony where the only person who can kill them is the other one. But they decide, no, we're not going to be enemies. We're going to try to work on this together. It's super great. It's a really great fantasy. and the main character, all the things she discovers about how she's been raised and everything she's been raised to believe, like you have to kill your sister. And when you kill your sister, you will become the queen. That's the way it's always been done in our kingdom. There is nothing I love more than a YA book where somebody says, I'm not going to do something the way I always have. There's no moment greater than that in YA fantasy. The other thing that's great about this, it's not a 15-book series. It's just these 2 books together, A River of Royal Blood and A Queen of Gilded Horns. You're done. It's for, you don't want to collect every book in a 40-book series. Here they are. More fantasy. Renegade Flight and Rebel Wing by Andrea Tang. This is like Top Gun meets the book Pacific Rim. So basically there's giant sentient dragon AIs and teenagers have to learn how to pilot them. Need I say more? There's giant robot dragons and teenagers go to flight school to learn how to pilot them and like defend the country and fight with other giant robots. I'm totally sold. What more do you need to know? Renegade Flight is the companion to Rebel Wing. It takes place in the same universe like 15 years later and the next generation of pilots. Look, man, we all have things, you know, and like giant sentient dragon robots are really high up on my thing. So like action, adventure, sci-fi, heists, pilots, what's not to love, right? Okay. Infinity Reaper and Infinity Sun by Adam Silvera, more fantasy. Infinity Reaper is the sequel to Infinity Sun, takes place in a universe where magic powers are real. The Spellwalkers are pursued, and 2 brothers who desperately want to have different goals, who are fascinated by these superpowered people. One of the things I really love about this series is it takes that concept of what if, like magic, like in Harry Potter and Marvel, what if that was real in our universe? How would people actually react to it? Like, wouldn't be as positive and as cool as you might have thought. And it really delves into the complexities of what it means to have these powers and how would the government deal with it. And it focuses it through the lens of these 2 brothers and their very personal experience. And no one does that better than Adam Silvera. So Emil and Brighton are the brothers, and focusing it through their own experience, it really makes it immediate, and it talks about contemporary issues without throwing it in your face. And also then there's all this cool magic and like phoenix powers and like celestials and like they battle and so much great stuff all combined in here, and it's never too much. I think I love you. So what am I so afraid of? This is a 2 girls in love, opposites attract rom-com by Ariane de Sambre. So basically it's about Emma, who's a hopeless romantic, and Sophia, who is very pragmatic, and they get put together on a school project, and you guys are not going to believe this, but they fall in love even though they're total opposites. It's so wild how that happens. No, it's very satisfying if you're into that, and who isn't. They have to make a movie together, so there's a lot about art and film, and the rom-com setting of them making a rom-com and then falling into each other like a rom-com. Do you get it? It's kind of a cheesy love story by Lauren Morrill, another great romance. Both of these are really perfect for fans of Becky Albertelli, Jenny Han, people who like romances. I think they also have a lot of adult crossover appeal. So this is basically about the main character who was born on the floor. Her mother had her in the bathroom of the local pizza place, and it's made her like a local celebrity. And when she's 16, she's guaranteed a job at the local pizza place where she was born, and she does not want to work there. She wants to be cool and hang out with her cool friends, but then somebody threatens to shut down the pizza parlor, and you're not going to believe this, but maybe she's in love with the delivery guy, and they all come together to save the day. Sometimes things are satisfying because they're familiar to us. So these are 2 really great, adorable romances. I Think I Love You, and it's kind of a cheesy love story. Get it? Okay, our last echoes. This is my supernatural book of the month. As you know, I'm obsessed with supernatural. This is a YA horror novel about a girl who goes to investigate her mother's disappearance, and also delve into the past of the series of disappearances that have happened in this town for generations. It's a horror novel, but it's also a mystery. It's also got a lot of supernatural stuff in it. It really did remind me of an episode of Supernatural, so you know I was into that. Throughout, it has like Blair Witch kind of things where there's like excerpts from like a radio show, a video transcript of something creepy that happened. So for those fans who want that kind of creepy combination, kind of hybrid novel, Kate Alice Marshall, she's really good at this. If you've read, she has a book called The Last Vanishing. She's really good at this kind of combination of like, what is really happening? Is it supernatural? Is it what bits and pieces of it are real and how are our memories? Super creepy. You can tell from the tagline, all stories turn into ghost stories if you wait long enough. Yeah. So I was into this. It really did remind me of an episode of Supernatural. I kept telling William, and William was like, not everything is about an episode of Supernatural, but I think he's wrong because pretty much everything is. And my favorite this month, and one of my favorite YA books of the year, The Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulley. Will you all read this so we can talk about it? Please, please, please. So this is about an Ojibwe girl who is solving several mysteries in her town at one time. This has already been optioned by Netflix. It's a Reese book club pick. It is the kind of book that the minute you finish it, you want to talk about it with everybody. The author, Angeline Boulley, has called this an Indigenous Veronica Mars or an Indigenous Nancy Drew. It's an incredible mystery. Our main character is Donis, and she is solving what happened to her best friend and also her uncle. And it's also about her coming into her identity and figuring out who she is at 18 and figuring out like what is going on in her town. There were so many twists and turns in this. I want to say I read this on Kindle. And when I bought it, I couldn't believe how long it was because it felt like no time at all. Like I could not put it down. The mystery in it, the community in it, the character voice in it, every part of this is so strong. Like the setting at the reservation, the Ojibwe reservation is set here in the Midwest, right on the border with Canada. The setting, the characters, the voice, the mystery, the twists in the mystery. There's an amazing love story. She goes undercover with the FBI to help them solve it. I loved everything about this book so much, and you will too, and so will teens. It's an impossible to put down book because you are constantly trying to figure out what's going on and you're always wrong, and I loved that. There's a lot of balls in the air in this book and she never drops any of them. So, okay, we did it. I would love to hear from you in chat about which books you're really into, which you're excited from. I didn't have time to go over the chat, but I will look at it. Sam, do you want to weigh in? These are my always tips and tricks. As a reminder, you will get this slide deck. Sam, take it away.
Yeah, we did have one question, which I don't think you have time to address in the next 30 seconds or so, but might be worth something for a future Pop YS session or another time. But books like Rissy No Kisses and Big Bad Wolf, how do we handle those like in a shelving sort of, like where do we put those in the library? Do they go in the regular picture books? Do we give them a sort of heads up, parents, there's heavy topics here kind of warning? How do we handle that? And I don't think we have time for that right now, but something
also,
maybe.
Whoever asked that, I would love it if you emailed me about that so I can give you some more information. I think you can also post on Library Talk to hear about what other libraries do here in Iowa. And I think, as always, it's a situation that's subjective by your space. Some people don't have space depending on their libraries. So, but I would love it if you emailed me so I can give you some more information about that. And I also think that we need to be aware that parents want those books more than we are ever thinking about. And so do caregivers and so do community members. I'm sorry we ran a little long as always, but I would love to hear from you about which ones you're excited about which ones you were like, oh my gosh, I couldn't wait. I wrote that one down. Oh my gosh, I'd heard about that one. I've already used it in story time. That's always the most fun part. I promise next month I'll do less books. As per usual, here's all the books we talked about. You will get this as part of the slide deck. Some of you have asked for this as a request. You are doing great. You're doing amazing. Thank you for caring about this. Thank you for coming to these. You're doing amazing. Thank you for all your hard work.